Hello guys, and welcome to a video where we're going to look at Tord Reklev's finals masters battle against Alberto Conti and the Gdańsk Regionals 2025, and we're just going to look at the first match and see what we can learn from it. Tord is going first, so no supporters on turn 1, and he has some pretty rough prizes. He has half of his rare candies prized, his only Dusknoir prize, and 1 out of his 3 Knocked Owl prizes. And his starting hand is pretty rough too. He has half of his double turbos in hand, an Ultra Ball Iono, Blood Moon Ursaluna, Pidgey, and Research. Now here, Tord goes for the Terapagos EX. Why did he not search out Rotom? Well, because honestly, I believe that he just felt like he had the better odds going for Terapagos and getting a Hoot off of his research. If he went for Rotom here, he would only be able to grab Noctowl, Pidgey, Pidgeotto if he played any, and that's it. He wouldn't have any way to activate the Noctowls. Of course, he could bank off of getting an out to Nest Ball or Terapagos off of research, and that might have given him slightly better odds, but he has no Area 0 Underdepth and no guaranteed Terapagos, and if he researches, he discards half his energy for game, and he's already going to have to commit one to retreat the Hoot, unless he grabs Prime Catcher. But here he goes for Terapagos EX instead, because then he is not wasting a manual energy attachment, and he's going to put on a little more pressure on his opponent's board. But here, I personally think this is a better play too. There are plenty of outs to get your whole board set up and Terapagos EX set up. You have Ultra Balls in deck, and you also potentially could get a rare candy Pidgeot out after you research next time. So here, Alberto is going to get his whole board all the way set up, all nice and pretty. Alberto attacks with Cleffa to fill up his hand and passes turn over to Tord. Now Tord here has to manually attach that double turbo so he can, swing with the Terapagos. He'll top set an Ultra Ball. That's kind of useless when you're gonna research the hand away, and he needs a way to retreat the Hoot. Noctowl right here is not a good play. So he slaps down the research, fresh card of 7, and let's see what he draws here. He gets a Pidgeotto, 2 Boufflant, a Hoot, Hisuian Heavy Ball, Fezandipity. Fezandipity is great, but he hasn't lost any guys yet. He's gonna just slam down that Hisuian Heavy Ball, double check his prizes, and see, oh yes, I am indeed missing half my rare candies, a Noctowl, a Nest Ball, and a Dusknoir. You hold the Fezandipity here, because otherwise it's a target and it's not doing anything yet. It also feels good to slap down both Boufflant because Alberto is 2-starting with Dragapult's attack, but if he gets Giratina Vstar in the discard, having both Boufflant down does put him out of range of getting one shot by Lost Impact. Then he also has a Nest Ball in his hand, I believe, and he could go out and get like another Pidgey out if he wanted, because the threat of a Dragapult attack from Regidrago using it from bench is very powerful. But right here he just decides to bench his other Hoot down to give him an out to another Noctowl, pays for retreat, and just swings for the KO with the Terapagos. Now here, Alberto is in the driver's seat, is doing happy, but he is not taking a KO because of those 2 Boufflant on bench. However, he's able to set his board up enough to be able to swing with Regidrago and snipe Tord Reklev's Pidgey. And here, Tord might have made a misplay. Maybe if he put down 2 Pidgeys, he would have been able to guarantee a Pidgeot, and that might have been a better thing for his board state, but it's hard to make that decision in the moment, especially when you feel like there might be more outs to Hoot and Hoot's more live and is more aggressive, giving 2 trainers at once. Tord draws for turn, it's a Nest Ball, but that deck space is open and ready for that Fezandipity he has been saving in hand, and he's going to immediately let it rip and see what his options are. Here, I bet he is banking on getting a Noctowl out. He still has, I believe, 2 Ultra Balls in decks. He's already burned 2. he has 2 knocked out themselves, and he also has area under depth 0 is a decent option because he can just spam Pokemon if he gets that as an out. But here, as we see, so no out 2, knocked out, which is really tricky and a really difficult spot to be in. Of course, Tord in the moment has to decide, do I just scenario up something? He got scenario off of prizes. Do I prime catcher to stall? However, if he even does that, Alberto can just energy switch and even power up the second Regidrago V, which is like the only valid target to try to stall with. All the other guys have 1 retreat or less, which, let's be honest, that doesn't feel good. So he just decides, I'm gonna just burn this Feather Ball, get Pidgeotto out of the deck, and increase my odds of getting something useful next turn. Now Tord here just attacks with Terapagos EX, taking the KO, expecting a return KO, and the opponent will very likely use Phantom Dive next turn to spread damage on his bench. His guys are fat enough that they're not going to get KO'd by a Phantom Dive, but it does feel pretty bad. Now Alberto continues to set up his board very nicely, and does indeed take the KO on Terapagos. However, he plays very smartly here and spreads out his damage counters, softening a lot of targets so they are within Dragapult range, and making it very awkward for Tord to be able to deny Alberto a 3 prize turn next turn. So Tord promotes the Fezandipity. He has the Turo on deck, and that's probably his supporter of choice. So he just has to Fezandipity right here. He needs the bench space open. He could just burn the Nest Ball to double check his resources and shuffle his deck, but really at this point in time, he can only just draw the 3 cards with Fezandipity and see what he has to work with. And he got Counter Catcher, Lost Vacuum, and Hoot Hoot. Counter Catcher here is, you can use it, but it's still not the greatest play in the whole wide world, because if you look at Alberto's board, it's still not easy to gust and stall. Yes, he has burned a ton of resources, but he has Super Rod and other recovery items still live, so gusting anything will likely not mean anything will stick. However, he has Scenario in hand, so he can scoop up something that is damaged to deny a prize. Maybe the Boufflant to make it not as easy to snipe, or the Fezandipity. So Tord is like, okay, I don't have any energy stack, but he goes for a Terapagos anyways, because that's the fattest thing he has and will stall out his opponent the most. So he goes for the Terapagos, and he counters up the Squawk, because the Squawk, aside from Regidrago, is the best thing to gust here, because it requires a manual attachment to retreat, whereas Ogerpon is ability, he can just slap something on. Toward Night Stretcher, the Pidgeyback, he needs to bank on Alberto not having energy, however, that is very unlikely. But this is how Tord plays the game. He is playing to every single out he possibly has. The only out he has in this moment is Alberto has a dead hand, has no energy in hand, and is forced to pass, giving him one more turn where he can actually Rare Candy Pidgeot. Unfortunately, Alberto has juice, he has the manual attachment, he has the Prime Catcher, and that is game with Prime Catcher. Even if he doesn't take all 3 prizes, it's just too much of a board state for Tord to make up with. In conclusion, I hope you found something valuable watching Tord's match and his side of the field and his potential thought process with me. There's a lot of things to keep track of while playing the game, and it's especially stressful and you want to scoop early when you're behind. Tord had a lot of outs that could have happened in this game. He could have gotten knocked out, area under depth 0, he could have gotten Rare Candy Pidgeot at the right time, but those things just never happened because that is part of the game. However, that did not discourage Tord. He kept on pressing onward, saying, if you have it, you have it, but I am going to go for my best out, and he still lost. However, he played very valiantly and very smartly, trying to get the best and most out of his resources available. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something alongside me, and if you did, share it with a friend. Otherwise, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye!